Port Harcourt was a city of oil money, fast cars, loud parties, and silent suffering. Beyond the glistering mansions and corporate towers stood Diobu, a community forgotten by time. Here, the roads were mud during the raining season and dust during the dry. The air reeked of fish, fuel, and frustration. It was here that unique George lived, 15 years old, barefoot, and burning with unspoken dreams. She didn't ask for much, just a little peace, a little food, a little relief for her mother's cough that rattled like thunder on an old zinc roof. Her father, Benjamin George, was long gone, killed in what they called a brake failure. But the whispers said more. Your mother did it, they murmured behind broken fences. She's a witch. That man was never the same after they married. Their eyes avoided Unique, like she carried the same curse. Death changed everything. The meager income from her father's keke business stopped. The little joy in their home faded with him. Now, her mother, Rose, spent her days coughing blood into a worn-out wrapper. The local clinic refused to treat her without money. Friends turned into strangers. Even Auntie Loveth, her blood, stopped answering their knocks. They survived on dry gari and tap water. Sometimes, not even that. Unique became the mother, the father, the provider. She woke before sunrise to sweep compounds, hauled blocks at construction sites after school, washed laundry for people who barely acknowledged her presence. At night, her feet would bleed, her hands would ache. But she would tuck in Mary, her 10-year-old sister, humming lullabies over empty bellies. Unique, I'm hungry, Mary would whisper. Unique would smile, hide her own hunger and lie. Sleep, my baby. I've kept some beans for tomorrow. Just rest, okay? But tomorrow rarely brought any food. They say poverty breaks people, but sometimes it makes them brave. One afternoon, Unique heard a rumor. A massive estate in GRA Phase 2 was hiring local workers for cleanup. Rich people, they said. Big men. Leftover food will be plenty. Payment even better. She dressed in her only decent clothes and joined the crowd outside the estate gate. That's where she first heard his name, Kolade Thompson. The man behind the estate, billionaire oil magnate, owner of Thompson Group of Companies, known for firing CEOs like pawns. A man who never smiled unless it involved numbers. They called him the Eagle, sharp-eyed, untouchable, and dangerous. Unique didn't care about the reputation. She just needed 500 naira for Panadol and bread. She snuck in through the side, pretending to be part of the catering team. In the commotion of the day, a wallet slipped from a contractor's pocket. She grabbed it, instinctively, opened it. 10,000. Crisp and staring at her. Her hand shook. Her mother needed medicine. Mary hadn't eaten in 24 hours. And she couldn't remember the last time she saw this kind of money. She took it. Just 10,000 naira. She left the wallet at the gate the next morning. But Kolade's estate had cameras. Eye-hand ones. Facial recognition. AI tracking. 2 days later, she was seized on her way home, dragged like a criminal through the same gate she had once tiptoed through, thrown to the ground before him. He stood tall, dark suit, clean haircut, jaw sharp enough to slice ego. No unnecessary words, just cold, calculated eyes. You stole from me, he said. Why should I not hand you to the police? Unique looked up, defiant even in fear. I didn't steal. I survived. Silence fell. The guards blinked. She looked up, dirt covering her legs, but her voice didn't shake. I took what you dropped like coins for your car wash boys. I used it to buy drugs for my mother. You want your money back? Fine, but ask yourself, what would you do if it was your mother coughing blood every night? Kolade said nothing. He stared. Something inside him stirred. A distant echo of guilt. A flash of memory. His sister, withering in pain on the floor of a private school dorm, abandoned by staff who thought she was pretending. He waved his guards off. Go. They hesitated. He snapped. They left. Unique stood alone in front of the man she feared most. But he no longer looked dangerous. He looked curious. And then he said the words she never expected. What's your name? Unique. Come back tomorrow. Alone. The next morning, Unique returned. Not because she trusted him, but because hope is sometimes louder than fear. Kolade didn't ask questions. He handed her a sealed envelope with 50,000 naira inside. Your mother will be taken to Sotera Hospital, he said. A doctor is waiting. Unique froze. No one had helped them in months. That afternoon, for the first time in 2 years, her mother rose, laid on a clean hospital bed. The doctor smiled gently. Nurses attended. It felt like magic. Kolade didn't stop there. He enrolled Mary in a private school, paid for the uniform, books, and even art supplies. The little girl began to smile again, draw again, and Unique, he offered her a job. Not out of pity, but because he saw something in her. She became a junior assistant at one of his offices, filed papers, ran errands, cleaned desks. But she was hungry, not for food, for knowledge. She read memos with a dictionary beside her, took free online courses on weekends, asked questions the other interns rolled their eyes at. Within 6 months, she went from serving tea to managing schedules. By the second year, she was coordinating projects. She never forgot who she was. She never tried to become someone else. Her hair stayed natural. Her accent remained thick. But her mind, sharp. Her vision, clear. Kolade watched quietly, from afar. Once, during a board meeting, a member scoffed at her proposal. Sir, why do you let that girl speak in these meetings? Kolade stared at him. Because while you talk, she thinks. Love did not arrive in a thunderstorm for Unique. It came like the first drop of rain after the dry season. Soft, unexpected, and slow to be believed. Kolade was always kind but distant. He taught her with firm gentleness, corrected with compassion, and always protected her from the sharks of the corporate world. Unique admired him, respected him, but she never let her mind wander beyond gratitude. How could she? He was a billionaire, a man of pedigree, wealth, and influence. She, a girl once beaten for stealing bread. But then came April 18th, the night everything shifted. The Unique George Foundation had just launched its 10th girls' shelter in Uyo. At the closing gala, a young rescued girl took the mic. I wanted to die until I met Unique. She is proof that we can survive our pain. The crowd clapped, some cried, but Kolade, he watched Unique from across the room. Watched how she bent low to hug the girl, how she wiped tears that were not her own. How her presence was both healing and holy. That night, on the flight back to Port Harcourt, the jet was quiet. Kolade broke the silence. Do you ever wonder why I really helped you that day? Unique, sipping juice, shook her head. You were kind. He smiled faintly. No, I was broken. You reminded me of my sister, who died because I was too proud to believe she needed help. When I saw you, I swore I wouldn't make the same mistake again. Unique turned. The weight of his words wrapped around her like a blanket. You saved me too, she said quietly. Their eyes met, and for the first time, without words, they both knew the space between them had shifted. Days turned into weeks. They spent more time together, not just as mentor and mentee, but as two souls slowly becoming one heartbeat. He surprised her with books she casually mentioned. She reminded him to rest when he buried himself in work. He taught her the game of chess. She taught him the value of laughter. One rainy evening, as they reviewed shelter expansion plans in his home library, he paused. Unique, he said, voice thick with emotion. I don't want to protect you anymore. I want to walk beside you for the rest of my life. She blinked, stunned. I'm just a girl from the slums. You are the woman who taught me that broken things can still shine. He knelt, not with a ring, but with a simple anklet, the kind girls from her part of Port Harcourt wore proudly. Will you marry me, Unique George? Tears spilled. Yes. But fairy tales didn't come without dragons. The announcement of their engagement shook Nigeria's social media. Billionaire Kolade Thompson to marry an ex-street girl? Love or jazz? Abuja elite react to shocking wedding news. People were brutal, but the worst betrayal came from within. Aunt Loveth. She returned like a vulture, circling for meat, appearing on the gossip podcast, spreading lies. She used jazz. I always knew there was something wrong with that girl. Even her mother is a witch. Ask anyone from Diobu. The video went viral. Kolade's board members called for an emergency meeting. His own mother, Mama Thompson, flew in from Abuja. A regal Kogi woman, wrapped in tradition and suspicion. She will ruin our legacy, she shouted in his mansion. She is not your kind. What will people say? Kolade stood calmly. I don't care what people say. I care what kind of a man I would be if I walk away from the best woman I've ever known. Meanwhile, Unique cried herself to sleep that night, alone in her apartment. The comments hurt, but what broke her most was seeing Mary bullied in school. Your sister is a witch's daughter, a boy shouted. The next morning, Unique arrived at Kolade's home. I can't do this, she said. He stepped forward. If you are afraid, I will stand in front. If you are tired, I will carry you. But if you walk away, make sure it's not out of fear. She sobbed in his chest. I am so tired, Kolade. Then rest. I've got you. 2 days later, Kolade called a press conference. The hall was full. Media houses, bloggers, business analysts, all waiting to hear how he would clean up the mess. Instead, he walked up to the mic and said, My name is Kolade Thompson. I am a billionaire, yes, but I'm also a man who watched a 15-year-old girl carry a broken world on her back and still remain kind. If that's witchcraft, then may every witch raise a nation. I am proud to marry Unique George. Not despite her past, but because of it. The room went silent. Then one clap, two, then an ovation. Mama Thompson, standing at the back, wiped a silent tear. Later that night, she visited Unique. My son never smiled for years, but he laughs now because of you. I was wrong. Welcome to the family, my daughter. The wedding wasn't a lavish affair. It wasn't held in Dubai or on some exotic island. It was in Port Harcourt, on the land where the Unique Light Foundation built its first shelter. The guests weren't celebrities or politicians. They were the people whose lives Unique had touched. The girl who once sold sachet water on highways, now students and interns. The mothers who had once buried daughters to poverty, now volunteers. The children who once begged for food, now held plates of jollof rice, dancing in joy. Unique wore no diamond ring. Instead, she wore a custom-made beaded bracelet woven by Mary with the words, "For all the times you chose us." As she walked down the aisle, her mother, Rose George, held her hand. Tears ran down her cheeks, not from sadness, but from pride. Rose was once accused, abandoned, and written off. But today, her daughter was becoming a wife, a leader, and a light to a generation. Kolade stood under the flower arch, waiting. No longer the cold billionaire. Now, simply a man in love with a woman who saved his soul without even trying. When the officiant said, "Do you, Kolade Thompson, take this woman, not just for her beauty, but for her battle scars?" He smiled. "I take her for her fire, for her faith, and for the future we will build." And when he turned to her, "Do you, Unique George, take this man, not for his wealth, but for his willingness to see you, truly see you?" She nodded, eyes glistering. "I take him because he never tried to fix me. He only held me while I healed." The applause after their vow was thunderous, but not louder than the silent vows they whispered in their hearts. "We will never forget where we came from. We will never let another child carry a burden meant for the world." 2 years later, Unique Thompson was featured on the cover of Forbes Africa, titled, "From Slum to Symbol: How a Girl Named Unique Changed Nigeria." She expanded the foundation to 8 states. She built a women's skill institute in Bayelsa. She partnered with tech startups to train rescued girls in coding, design, and entrepreneurship. Kolade, now semi-retired, spent most of his time managing the financial arm of the foundation. Together, they created scholarships, shelters, and safe houses across West Africa. Mary, now a teenage artist, held exhibitions showcasing the realities of slum children, using colors to tell what words could never capture. And Rose George? She became a counselor for widows, teaching them that a broken past can still give birth to a purposeful future. One evening, as the sun set behind their home in Abuja, Unique stood on the balcony. She looked down at the city lights and thought of her younger self, the girl who once slept on cold floors, who once begged for mercy, who once stole not because she was wicked, but because she was desperate. Kolade came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "Thinking again," he whispered. She smiled, just remembering. He kissed her forehead. "Thank you for seeing me when I was invincible," she said quietly. And he, as always, replied, "No, Unique. Thank you for reminding me what it means to be human." Never judge a person by their poverty. Everyone deserves a chance. Please subscribe for more inspiring African stories. Thank you. The end.